here's what I've got so far. I'm kind of working backwards. In 2000, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, the first thing that I found was in 2007, we worked with the archives in Bethlehem to have two of the Shenik registrars. I can't remember what years they were. Do you remember, Richard?
I don't think it was the very first register, but I think it was the second and the third register. For those of you who don't know what a church register is, it's the documentation that a church uses to say, this is when so-and-so was baptized. This is when so-and-so was born. This is when so-and-so was died and buried. They're very, very important documents. And our Clewell family, I guess, as Joe points out there in 2007, paid to have two of the original Shenik church registers. What's the right word? Refurbished. Yeah, and because they were just
falling apart, and
they were in very poor condition, right? And their bindings are falling apart. And the archivist that you can see in picture number 2 on your left, Dr. Paul Puker, he was thrilled to have us donate to have those two registers rebound. So I forgot what the price was, but it was around $12.50. Okay, that's for 2 church registers.
Yeah, that's where I have on here. I looked back through some of the treasury records I could find, and roughly $1,250 for those. And then in 2014, we spent roughly $18,000 to have new cemetery markers placed. You can see the picture I'm showing here is here. The gray one is George's original headstone.
Just click on it, Joanne.
Yeah, click on 3.
Oops. Can you see it?
No.
We've still got the Shenik Register Restoration one up.
Oh, come on. It's
Double click it.
While you're doing that, may I ask when the voting or what the voting decided for the reunion time this year?
I don't think we decided the reunion time.
The date.
Was it the last Saturday of July? Is that what
July
we've been talking?
30th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you see the headstone now?
No.
Nope, it's still not coming through.
Yeah, I thought I was sharing a screen. It says I'm sharing my screen.
Okay, unshare your screen, click the 3, then share your screen.
Sounds like a good idea.
Stop
I'm learning. I'm listening and learning. Because I haven't done this at all.
I think can you see it now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I selected the wrong file. Sorry.
So is the new set of stones beside the original?
No.
You can see this is George's old one, and you can see the crack right across the middle of it. And then we had new ones created in the same aspect of
The old one is buried under the new one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the old ones, they dug a little bit down and they put the old ones right under the new ones. Go. So this is George's. And then you can see down here in the bottom, on the bottom of it, it said we had them put on copy 2004, so that people would know that this is not the original headstone. Then the next picture I think I have is, come on, I hit the button. There we go. Here's Franz's headstone, and you can see the huge corner that was taken off by a lawnmower. So we wanted to do something in order to, so people would still know where they're buried up there, but these old headstones were not going to last much longer. So what's one project we did with the Clewell family and raising funds. Here's another.
It's interesting that George's seemed to be in so much worse condition.
Yeah.
Like, did you guys ever have any idea why that was so? Like, you can hardly make out, maybe it's the direction of the photograph, but like you can hardly make out some of the words. But Franz's seems better.
Yeah, it's weather related, lawnmower related, it's a combination of the two. And if I didn't get a picture of the back, I do have a picture of the back of George's where you can actually see where someone tried, because at one point it was two pieces and somebody did mend it together to be one piece, and you can actually physically see that on the back. I didn't pull up one of those pictures, but yeah, there's Franz, and for some reason Franz's, he has a little bit better condition, except for, like I said, some of the big chunks and corners taken out thanks to the lawnmower. What can we do?
That's Hans. Where's Franz?
2000, I think we started it in 2000, and then we finally finished it up and had a dedication in 2003 for a restoration of the original pass that allowed Luisa's second husband, Johannes Gefellner. Was it Johannes?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her
Johannes
second husband,
Gefelleren.
Gefellern.
Yeah, the
Yep.
one that fell over on the boat. Yeah, I couldn't find any pictures of what it looked like prior to, but this is a picture of the final. They cleaned it up. This bottom part here at one point was actually folded up. You couldn't really see it. They put it in acid-free framing and all that kind of fun stuff. And that was roughly $1,500 for that.
Where is that now?
Conrad knows where it is.
Thankfully, we found it. It was supposed to, one of the stipulations was that it was supposed to be on permanent display in what they call the archivist's room or something like that. It's not on permanent display right now, but they still do have it at the Whitfield House. I saw it live and in person last year. So
Me too.
it's definitely, because it's like they've had, when we originally had the idea to have this restored, Sue Dradoppel was the archivist at the Whitfield House in Nazareth. So we worked with her to get it done. And then when she left and they got a new one, that new archivist kind of changed the scope of the way things are in the Whitfield House. And we thought that this pass had been sent down to the archives in Bethlehem. For a while there, we thought it was lost. But we were able to, Conrad, through his diligence, was able to work with the Whitfield House to find out that, yes, they still do have it. It may not be hanging on a wall, but they still do have it. So yeah, so that's something that we've over the years, said, mentioned at a reunion that, hey, we had this idea for a project that we might want to, donate to have something of our family history restored and preserved for future generations. And we raised the majority of the monies were raised through donation to the Clewell family.
When we throw around the term the Whitfield House, do you folks understand what that building is
No,
in terms of the local history? When the Moravians founded Nazareth, was the Whitfield House like the communal building for everyone to stay as the town was being built? And,
yeah, something like that, right, Conrad?
Somewhat.
Sue Dradoppel and Sarah will be able to give us all kinds of information. But it was a building, a communal building that the Moravians used and would build upon. And right now it's a major museum for the Moravian Church. So when we mentioned the Whitfield House, it's a local Moravian museum.
And actually, I'd like to go further with that because
Sure.
when you're talking about Whitfield, that's George Whitfield, who was the evangelist who went throughout the entire U.S. colonies, and he was the founder of Methodists as a evangelical movement. So Whitfield had a 500-acre farm that he had purchased, and that was actually then bought by the Moravians to use as their lands in 1737.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
Whitfield ran into some financial difficulties. To
So
make the
he
story
actually
short.
never wound up finishing the building, right?
Yeah,
Conrad?
well, yeah, right. You'll be able to see when you do get there. It was built in almost 2 stages. They started it and had to abandon the building of it for various reasons, Indians and weather, and they came back then and finished it up later date. But yeah, the one part was used as the original hall worship center, plus missionaries stayed in different apartments in there over the years. Plus a few
Well-
Indian attacks, they used it to protect themselves.
Yep.
And
Whitfield
would
was
that
like,
be where they went? Sorry. Would that be
No, I
where
was
they
just-
went when they had the Indian uprisings and they fled? Wasn't it
Sometimes,
Yeah,
sometimes. Daniel Clewell, the son of George Clewell, was born at the Whitfield house during the Indian insurrections in, what was that, 17? I don't know the date.
46,
1760-ish,
1746.
Yeah,
something like that.
something like
Yeah.
that.
Yes, because they all were so afraid that they actually left their farms in
Yeah.
Upper Nazareth and went to the Whitfield house, and they stayed there. And then every single day, the men would go out with their rifles and they would go together to their farms to feed their animals and do the things that had to be done every day, and then would go back to the Whitfield house.
Wow.
I have one more question. The Moravian map, it's not on a map, a recent map in the last 1900s, but I was trying to find it. But it was incorporated with the Czechoslovakia, Soviet parts over the past, I don't know, 15, 16, 17, 1800s. Would your son have access to that, or would he put that into the archive that he's doing, the filming's doing? Because I've heard,
Which map are you talking about?
I just don't know where Moravia, the country Moravia was,
Oh.
period, in Europe.
I think it was mostly a province. It wasn't really a country.
In those
But
days, there weren't really countries with defined borders. If you remember, Germany was just a whole bunch of little feudal areas.
Right.
Saxony and anyhow, where Czechoslovakia is pretty much, that's where Moravia was. It was called Bohemia at one point in time.
Yeah,
But it was
Bohemia,
where
Moravia.
John Huss was kind of the leader of that. And of course, he was 100 years or so before Martin Luther. So we're talking about the 1400s rather than the 1500s
Wow.
time frame.
I met a man supposedly from Moravia in 2018 at Mount Joy. I was down there working in the Lancaster area, and I stayed at a hotel, and he stopped in and talked about big, tall guy. I thought of immediately a German background or a Norwegian, the big, tall built man. He wasn't heavy. He was very nice, and he was visiting in the States, and he was asking all kinds of questions. And I thought, I think I have a spirit. I'm going crazy. I think it's, it's somebody from the past, because I don't even know where Moravia is. But they were talking about discrimination. There were some people living in this motel room that I was at. I had to take a room till I could get settled. Anyway, he was checking in and checking out, and this lady acted like she was afraid. And to make a long story short, she was talking about these people not being refugees but homeless, and they were helping them out. And the discussion went on to, he had an accent and talking, he could speak English, but he had another language. And I asked him what the language was, and it wasn't Czech, and it wasn't Soviet, and I don't think it was German. And the discussion went to Moravia, and he said the Moravians were very peace-minding and lived quietly peacefully and quietly among all kinds of different kinds of people for many years. And I said something about Moravian church and having the ancestry back to the Moravian country when they came over here as immigrants, colonialists. And but then I could never find the actual map, any map that showed even the name Moravia in recent history. And I didn't go into all kinds of detail for it, but I just went where I could find anything. And then I see Czechoslovakia had Moravia, Bohemia, and I knew the German background of the Clewell's wives, Grace Clewell Hampel. The Hampel side is part of the German, and it ends up that some of them were really in what was now Poland. And some of the Poland area verged on Soviet. So I think there probably were some Russian ancestry and way back, 1400, 1500, 1600, 1700, probably have some of those in 10 or 15 generations on. I just wondered where it was. I see where Czechoslovakia was, and then Czech split, Czech Republic and the Slavic public split.
Slovakia. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Slovakia. And so, and that's part of my ex-husband's family that I knew their family 20, 30 years. All of the family members, and big family Catholic, very strong people, and, hardworking and all that stuff, clean. And, it was just a interesting thing to think that, probably have some relatives there too and never knew about it. But I just wondered where exactly that little thing was.
So
Must have been
Janice, when I did my DNA evaluation, the family tree DNA came back and said that I had lineage from that area that is now being in the news all the time, part of Western Ukraine into the Polish area and into Czechoslovakia, was a segment of my DNA subset.
I think there's a lot of us like that. Yes. That's amazing, isn't it?
I think a lot of Moravians also too came from Herrenhout.
Yeah.
That's another big name that you'll hear in connection with the Moravians. And that, Richard, might be something that when you talk to Sarah, I know Sarah went a couple of years ago, but Sarah did go to Herrenhout. And I remember seeing her. I remember her bringing her photo album in and showing pictures. I remember looking at her pictures and stuff. So that might be something, maybe Sarah could talk about.
I was there, Joanne.
Were you there too, Conrad?
Yeah. Courtney was in school 20 kilometers from there.
Oh, okay.
And so she'd go up to the archives and meet with Paul. She actually stayed with Paul, the archivist in Bethlehem. He was the archivist in Herrenhout at the time.
Oh, okay.
So she'd go up there and visit the archives and do a paper up there while she was there, the year that she stayed there. So yeah, we were there. And matter of fact, the lady that's inquiring about where they came from, well, they actually left Zinzendorf's estate, which is not that far from Herrenhout. We were actually there.
Oh, okay.
Where the estate is. And they left his estate to come over here, basically. So another interesting sideline, my son Christian just finally uncovered where my Rice side came from, believe it or not. It took us all this while because there were name changes. Actually, we come from the Heidelberg area. There's a small town not
Oh,
far out of Heidelberg. So the Rice's part of this comes from that area of Germany. And Christian was astonished because he spent a semester and a half in Heidelberg. So
that's
Oh,
amazing.
wow.
Oh,
small world, you know?
uh-huh.
Yep.
And,
We're
So,
all related.
Getting back to our restoration projects.
Can
Um,
I ask you a question, Joanne, about the restoration? So I noticed that circle on the upper left side. Does anybody know what that is from? Is that a circle in the actual document? Like a
I
cut, a
I,
hole?
I believe that's not necessarily a burn mark, but it was definitely it deteriorated. And I don't know, from them, because for what I know, the longest time you can see where it was folded
Yeah.
here. So it might have been the possibility that it was folded together, and when they went to open it up, a small piece got broken off from here. And I
But
think
it seems like perfectly round.
yeah, it does kind of, but yeah, I'm not sure. I'd probably have to show picture to Sue Dradoppel. She might remember if that is just damage from aging.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
Or-
you can see damage up along
Yeah.
here from aging.
I mean, maybe I'm just throwing it out there, but maybe there was some kind of like growth there that would have eventually damaged the document
It
and they cut it
probably-
out
Yeah, it's
so that it
possible.
wouldn't get any further,
Right.
which would mean that like what you're saying about it was damaged kind of thing. But also why maybe looks to me perfectly circular,
It's possible that could have been a spot where there was a bacteria or something on it from just being kept in a non-anti-acid folder, and
Yeah.
they just cleaned it up, and
I
So that's
think if
Needed
you
to
look,
get rid of.
I think if you look at the very first volume 1 of the Clewell history, and there's a photo of the pass, I think you'll also see that circle there in the
Oh,
in that
I
17.
got it right here in front of me. What
Well, take
page
a
is
look.
it?
Oh, 14 and a half. I don't know the page.
towards the front, shouldn't it? In the history, the beginning.
Yeah,
But
let's
I think you'll
see.
see an odd circle there toward the upper left in that.
You
in that
are
photo.
absolutely right. Yes, it is.
So,
And you weren't far away. It's on page 22.
okay. But anyway, so that circle was back there back in 1907, or at least previous to that, because that's when the book was published.
That
Right.
is so cool. It really is.
Cool.
Okay, so
Keep going.
here's another memorial project I found back. Now I'm still looking, and Conrad, you might be able to help me figure out some of them. But I know in 1959, the 2 windows in the very front of the church were placed in the front of the church by donation given from the Clewell, collected by and given from the Clewell family.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm not sure what came first there. I had to think about that off the top of my head, but
About that, because they're two different. I know I've been going through this, which is the Clewell Family Association meeting minutes from 1948 to like 2000 or 1997. And I've been looking for, different projects that we did. And I know this one was done. I'm guesstimating the couple places I found, it looked like it was $450, $500. But then I found another where there was another $100. So I'm guesstimating around $600 to $700 to have those
Yeah.
windows done.
Yeah,
And-
That was the year my dad was the chairman of the Clewell family reunion, and I can distinctly remember at the age of 10 him talking about windows all the time, months before the
Yeah,
event.
I found
So-
your dad's name in lots of these notes.
Yeah, and I think that's actually two pictures of the same window.
Yeah, I took both pictures, but I guess when I copied it into my presentation here, I guess I copied the same one twice. Sorry.
So,
guys.
how come the church needed new windows? Were they replacing windows, or was that like an addition that was put on the front of the church for those and they needed windows?
Well, I believe this was all part of the in 1958, they broke ground on the Shennick Church to actually put what they call the Christian Ed wing, or the fellowship hall. So kind of like what's there now, cut that in half. And that was the original fellowship hall. They started that in 1958. Let me see here. Let me exit out of here. And see, screen share. Where is it? Oh, I must have closed it. Shoot, I must have closed it. But I do have a document, a letter for the, here we go. 1959 Christian Education Wing. Come on, open up. Open up. There we go. Share.
I don't know, Joanne, do you remember I think I gave it to John Vidal at that thing that we did with the taping some months ago, but I actually have the document from the window company to my dad, what the price was going to be.
Oh, okay.
And I think I gave a copy to John to put in the archive. I think I gave him the copy, and I still have the original, which I really should give to the church to put in the archive. So
Yeah, because I'm on August 24th, 1958, committee on the memorial windows consisting of Lou Fair and a couple other folks. One of the bids was $711 for each window, or a
that
total
sounds
of
about right. Yeah.
1,023 for the two. And another bid they got was 773, which would have been a total of 1,500 for two windows. That's what's written here by Francis W. Laux, secretary
Oh, that was my aunt.
at the time.
Yeah, that was Frances Willard Laux. She was my dad's oldest sister. She was like 23 years older than my dad was.
And that at the time, Dr. Theodore C. Laux was president.
Yeah. That C is a Clewell.
Oh, okay.
And that's my dad.
Okay. But yeah, so I know that if you can see this picture, this is an article from 1959 about the new Shennick wing promoted by the founding Clewells. And there's the wing. Now, of course, if you look at it now, they've added more. They added more toward the front of this, and then we got the spiky tops on the church now.
Yeah, that's
And
my
there's-
dad and
there's-
Reverend Hitchcock there on that picture.
Yeah, there's a picture of when they dedicated the cornerstone. This looks like it's August 30th, 1959. I haven't found anywhere where it says how much, was actually given by the Clewell Association. But there was, in between the church and the Clewell family, there were monies collected for that. That's all I have found. That's all I have found so far. Oops, stop share. I'm still looking, like I said, I'm still looking through because I think I found something in here sometime in the early 60s where they decided to, there were really no markers for Franz, George, and Louisa. And
What do you mean by markers?
headstones,
Gravestones?
gravestones. Because I saw something here back in the early 60s about gravestone markers so that future generations can know where they're buried.
I don't know, that doesn't seem right because they've always been there as long as I've been there.
Okay.
Right. Do you
Well,
mean that they wanted to replace the gravestones?
it doesn't say. Oh, hang on a second. Where did I see that? I think it was like 1960, 1961. I saw that somewhere. I have to really sit down and read this big behemoth because in the beginning we've got this, I don't know if you can see, we've got this lovely fountain pen writing. And then later on we've got someone actually physically typed it and glued it into the pages. And then we have some lovely pages by a lady by the name of Martha Luckenbach, who I swear must have had the smallest handwriting in the world.
Mm.
So I'm trying to kind of go through this. Oops, what happened to my thingy? I hit something. I'm trying to go through this book and see what else, the Clewells have, maybe donated to some building project or something at the church. I'm pretty sure in the late 80s when we restored the church organ, I'm pretty sure we gave money at that point when we did that. So yeah, I'm looking.
This is a really cool project that you're looking into, Joanne.
Thanks. This is, hang on a second. Let me go to Zoom, screen share. I think this is the picture I want. No, that's not the one I want. Screen, new share. This is the one. This is the other window.
Okay.
Oops, see if it'll, whoa, a little too big. This is the other window. The window, if you're looking straight at the church, the window on the right is Jesus and the children. And I believe this is Jesus and Nicodemus. It didn't come out. I took them this morning before I left church. So they didn't come out as well as I kind of hoped they would have, but they really look beautiful from the outside at night.
Just as a point of historical reference, what's the significance of these things, these windows, and then the fellowship hall being built in the late 1950s? What's about to happen to the church? Historically to the church. Does anybody remember? Something important happened in 1762.
Oh, was that like the founding of the?
This is coming up to the 200th anniversary of the founding of the church.
Of the Shannon Church.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's right.
Yeah.
1762 is the founding of the church, and they're in 1960, was 1958, 59, 60. That's when they're putting in these windows. That's when they're putting in the church fellowship hall. So I guess in a sense, somebody realized that the what do you call the 200th anniversary? The not sesquicentennial. Whatever the 200th anniversary is called is coming up for the church in 1962. So I think they're getting ready for that time.
Yeah, they're thinking about it, Richard. I already talked to the organist about using that hymn that Rick Brooker wrote for us in that service. So he told me to remind him as we get closer to the date so he can work on that, because there's like, what is it, like six verses or something like that. He said
That was 5 or 6, yeah.
5-ish, yeah, something like that.
we got to cut it down to like 3 or 4. at the moment.
Yeah, I might have to cut it.
Yeah. But-
Just want to show you this while I was digging around. If you've never seen it, here is a picture of Shennick in 1947 at the Clewell reunion.
That's a
Okay.
nice picture.
And
Yeah.
as you can see, there is no fellowship hall.
Right.
I mean, we're coming up on the 260th anniversary this
Yep.
year.
Yeah, and if you look at the windows here on the side, I think when they did that expansion, that's when they did all the windows and redid some other work in the church. So, and I think this skinny young lady right here is my mom.
If you look in the very front row there, second from the left, the little kid, that's me on the second one in there.
Right here,
I think that's me right there.
right here.
Yeah.
So cool.
How about that?
Yep.
70
And-
years
and that's-
later, here I am.
And that skinny young lady right there is my mom, is our mom.
Yeah.
So just some fun stuff. But yeah, so I'm still working on trying to see what.
And if nothing else, you saw how well attended the reunions were.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there any, Joanne, are you planning on trying to digitize that record for the old document?
I would like to, because I also have possession of this. This is actually the Clewell family reunion minutes from the very first reunion
Wow.
to 19